Are you thinking of moving to Atlanta, Georgia? We're going to tell you in today's video exactly why you should not move to Atlanta, Georgia. Well, not that you shouldn't, but things you definitely need to know. Welcome to my channel. My name is Greg Goen with Go Home Partners at Real Broker. I'm your local Atlanta real estate expert. And on my channel, we talk about everything about Atlanta, living inside the perimeter, outside the perimeter, and everything in between. Let's hop in. Number one, cost of living and housing market. If you are thinking about moving to Atlanta, Georgia, and renting a one-bedroom apartment inside the city is roughly around $1,900. And if you're thinking outside of the perimeter, outside of 285, if you did not know, is roughly around $1,500. There is a rising cost for living in Atlanta, Georgia, so desirable neighborhoods definitely going up. Hard to get into because they're not new construction anymore. They have to be resold, so people have to either want to move or need to move. And then the second is there's always new developments happening every year. Suburbs like mine up in Canton, Georgia, we just doubled the size of our sewer system so we could build newer developments connected to the sewers. Overall, Atlanta is 2% higher in the cost of living per the national average, but housing is 8% higher than the national average. So let's talk cost of living just a little bit. I'm a foodie, I love to eat. So if you were to eat inside the perimeter in Atlanta, Georgia at a sit-down restaurant for one person, it's roughly gonna cost you around $21. And if you go to a fast food chain, it's gonna cost you around $12. So as we get into the food, I'm a big foodie, just like I said. I love a good sit-down meal, but I love to hit the local spots, and because of the cost of food, it's actually going up for most folks. So as for housing, yes, we're 8% higher than the national average, but that's the national average. If you look at the bigger, larger metropolitan areas across the Southeast and across the nation, we're actually lower. Number two, traffic and transportation issues. Atlanta is known for its heavy traffic. Heavy traffic. If you live at any one of these big intersections, Spaghetti Junction, which is 285 and 85, when they conjunct together, that place is a total dumpster fire. Same thing with 400 and 285 right now, because they're totally reconfiguring that entire intersection. It looks like a clover leaf gone mad, in my opinion. And when you're driving through it, no matter what time of day it is, it's a dumpster fire. So stoked that they're actually putting in some stuff like the corridors and the peach passes to help relieve some of that. Obviously, you have to pay for that, but that is happening. Now, let's talk public transportation. So with public transportation, we have MARTA. So MARTA's inside the perimeter of Atlanta, and it goes outside the perimeter in a couple different places. One to the airport and two up to Sandy Springs, almost Roswell, up the 400 corridor, but nowhere else. So inside the city, you have a rail system and a bus system. It's still limited if you're a commuter. If you live outside the perimeter, Cobb County has a bus transit system, but everything else, there's nothing. So having a vehicle to get around, to commute is a must-have. And if you're commuting from outside the perimeter to inside the perimeter to downtown, you're gonna have to deal with traffic every single day. Number three, seasonal burden. So we've got this thing in the South. It's called pollen. It comes from pine trees. And during pollen season in the springtime, this yellow stuff gets everywhere. And if you've got allergies or real prone to sickness, it is gonna really put a damper on how you conduct life and going outside. Now, when I mean everywhere, I mean everywhere. I grew up with a black lab in my home when we lived in Augusta, Georgia, and when she would go out into the backyard during pollen season, she would come back a lighter shade of black with a hue of yellow. So the next thing you wanna know is we are also called Hot Atlanta. It gets hot and sticky here in the South. We have a high humidity rate and it gets well into the 90s, sometimes reaching the triple digits. And you better have a great air conditioner unit in your car and in your house. And to speak of the house, you better know a great HVAC guy that can come work and keep your unit running strong. Number four, challenges of rapid growth. Atlanta is one of the biggest, fastest growing cities in the nation, and it's putting a huge strain on local infrastructure and the ability to meet the adequate needs that it is to continue to grow in a sufficient manner. It is just really tough. So let's talk about gentrification, because that is what also comes with a city that grows at this rapid rate. Lots of these neighborhoods inside the perimeter have historically been one type of neighborhood are now becoming a different type of neighborhood, and everything in between, and even in the outskirts in the suburbs, as folks inside some of those tight-knit communities get pushed out to, and then they're getting pushed out even further. So the map is continuing to grow larger and larger and larger. So as your local Atlanta real estate expert, I put in the link in the description below a 15-minute discovery call on Zoom, totally free, to talk about your relocation to Atlanta or moving across Atlanta. I would love to discuss that with you face to face to see how we can assist you in that move. Now, if you are looking for more pros and cons, we actually did a specific video where we converged them together. Check out the link in the description below for that. And as always, my name is Greg Goad, Goad Home Partners at Real Broker. Peace.